Fine. Please go ahead. Over to you now.
Right. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Professor Ngobo Emese, and I'm the head of the School of Law here at University of Bradford. Today, I'm going to be talking to you about law in a time of rapid global change, challenges and prospects of the 21st century lawyer. Now, the aim of this really is to sort of get you to begin to think about how our world is changing and how that needs to feed into your conversations, your thinking about what you want to do next if you want to become a lawyer. Because as the world changes, there are implications for law and implications for what you do as a lawyer. And of course, for those of you who are about to enter the profession, a lot of this is going to be really significant and important for you. So when did all this change start? This change hasn't started all of a sudden, yeah? Change has been happening for a while. And for someone like me who is old enough to know when we entered into the 21st century, there was all of this hype around what's going to happen when we entered into the 21st century, Y2K, you know? And I've got some pictures there just to give you an indication of what the newspapers were saying at the time. The end of the world, the day the earth will stand still, January 1st, 2000. Well, here we are, 2020, 20 years later. The world didn't come to an end. The earth didn't stand still. But at the same time, we know that the 21st century has engendered some of the biggest changes that we can recall in our near history. So in what ways is the world changing? What are the ways in which this world is changing? I know all of you can relate to this one, yeah? COVID-19. Well, the changes, and of course, COVID-19 is important, but the changes we're talking about and we're referring to is much more than COVID-19. The changes affect all aspects of human endeavor. And these are just some examples: globalization, disruptive technologies, climate change, tourism, politics, sociocultural health, how we work, all of that is changing. And I'm just going to dip into a few of these to give you an idea of the scale of this change. But just before we go on to look at the change, I want us to think, because we are all living in a time of change, and there's a lot of uncertainty, there's a lot of churn, there's a lot of concern, there's a lot of difficulties for everyone. But change really is also, while it's a challenging time, is also an opportunity. With every change comes opportunity, and those who best thrive in change, those who are best able to rethink and reposition themselves, will take advantage of that change. And I'll put on there a quote, as we always do as lawyers, from the Stockholm Declaration, where it says, if used wisely, change can bring to all peoples the benefits of development and the opportunity to enhance the quality of life. But of course, if we don't do that, wrongly or heedlessly applied, the same power can do incalculable harm. So as we think about these changes, what we want to be thinking about is, how do I harness these opportunities rather than be crushed by the challenge that we see in that image? So globalization. Globalization is bringing opportunities for trade, for investment, for communication. For instance, I'm here in the UK, and I'm speaking to all of you, wherever you are, in your homes, in your work, wherever you are. That's what change has brought about: globalization, communication, the media, popular culture, and I'm sure you can think about a lot of other changes that globalization has brought about. But as I said, this can be positive, this can be negative. So we can look at communication and say, oh God, it's an impact. It impacts on our privacy, and people are going to be knowing exactly what we do, and they're going to be following us. Oh, and communication is going to really harm our kids, you know. Another way of looking at that is to say, okay, yes, actually, communication is bringing people into the lives of my children in my home, but how do I protect my children at home? And if you're the one who finds that solution, if you're the one who can think about how we can best regulate to address that, then we're using change as an opportunity rather than just focus on the challenge. There are other examples, disruptive technologies, you know about driverless cars, Bitcoin, you know, cryptocurrencies, artificial intelligence, yeah? In the context of environmental challenges, we're seeing global warming happening, climate change, implications for food security, pollution. How do we regulate these companies? Global security, there's terrorism, there's COVID-19 at the moment, which is sort of almost crumbled our entire world. We have wars, all sorts of things happening in our global world that's affecting not just the security of individual countries, but of the entire globe, and demonstrating the interconnectedness of our world. In other words, yes, you may have borders and you may say XYZ can't come into my country, that's fine. But how do you stop COVID-19 from coming into your country? It doesn't respect national borders, for instance. You may shut the borders, but there are ways in which other challenges come through. Climate change, for instance, it's not going to respect national borders. So how do we deal with all of this as a national issue, but also as a global issue? And of course, social cultural, which is bringing all sorts of challenges as well. Sexuality, we no longer are defined by a binary choice between male and female, and this bigger idea around gender, around identity. Old people, what is age? How do we deal with age? Marriage, who is the family? What is the family? All of that is changing in our world, and law is implicated in all of this. So this is where you come in. For the law student, for the 21st century lawyer, all of these things and more that I've said are happening are the challenges that you will have to deal with and work with. So there are two main things. One, what are the implications for law itself? How does law regulate in this complex environment? How do we create the rights, the obligations, the duties, the protections that we need in this changing world to ensure that we all get the benefits from this change, and that if there are negative aspects, we regulate it strictly so that individuals are not affected too much. So for instance, with Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, how do we protect that world? That's a really new area that law is engaging in, because there's a lot of risks involved there. And what law does really is to create a framework that ensures that we can all operate in a particular way that balances the rights of individuals, which is why we've got the scale, you know, of the blind woman with the scale. We're always trying to ensure justice. So the pace of change is another issue. Again, our globalized world means that we are no longer insulated from the challenges that are happening globally. Previously, you could say, oh, that's something that's happening over there in North America, or over there in Asia, or over there in Africa. We're no longer able to do that because of the interconnectedness I talked about. So there is change happening at a global level, and yet you have to look at that change within the context of your locale. So if a particular technology is brought into the world, what does that mean if you live in North America? Does it mean exactly the same thing if you're living in India, for instance? That is a big question for not just law, but also for you as a law professional. So what is the role of the law? What is the role of lawyers? How do we train differently in this environment? And what are the challenges and the opportunities? And these are the questions that we think about every day as providers of legal knowledge, as providers of legal training. How do we ensure that we are addressing these issues? And so these are some of the questions that I just want you to think about if you're a lawyer that you'll be dealing with. Yeah, should law be proactive or should it be reactive? So a very good example, COVID-19. Should we make a law that shuts down everybody, keeps everybody at home, and says nobody can come out forever? And then the moment you say that, you realize, oh my God, there are other implications out there. How do we educate our children? What happens to our economy? All of those questions happen. If we have medical technology that is advancing, like DNA stem cell, for instance, are we all happy with that? This idea, for instance, that you can create a baby out of three people, from three people. What are the implications? Should we frustrate? Should we stop that? Or do we say, no, go ahead, because it can actually cure people from really serious illnesses? And if so, how do we regulate? And if we regulate here in India or here in Bradford, What are the implications for somebody who may use the same technology or this same development somewhere else? Those are really, really important questions. So if you're going into the law with the mind of, I want to be involved in lawmaking, I want to be involved in policy issues, I want to make changes, this is a really great time to be a lawyer, because you're going to help grapple with these really difficult issues and challenges and help shape how our world will become the kind of place, or continues to be the kind of place that we want to be in. So what are the legal processes? What are the legal rules? What are the principles? What are the issues around rights and ethics in our world that we want to ensure that continues? How do we ensure that the rules we put in place are equitable between the rich and the poor, between the haves and the have-nots, between the global north and the global south? All of those are very interesting issues that you'll be engaging with. But then, as a practitioner, if you're going to be practicing law as well, it has real life implications. So we've got technology, for instance, artificial intelligence. How is artificial intelligence affecting our world, the world of work as a lawyer? And if you come to Bradford, for instance, one of the things we will be teaching you about is how artificial intelligence is changing and shaping the way lawyers work. That we can no longer work traditionally the way we used to do, how we manage cases, where we get information from, how we give advice, and whether or not artificial intelligence can actually give some advice that we perhaps don't want to spend our time doing if you are a bigger firm. What is the implication of that for smaller practices? Yeah, but there's also other issues as well. Do we all need to be in a particular place to practice law? For instance, COVID-19 has taught us all something. You can be at home and you can be working. So what does that mean for me as a lawyer who trains and say maybe returns back to my country in India? If I am aware of what the global issues are and I've trained well in the law, can I live in India and yet be part of a global law practice? These are some of the really interesting issues, exciting issues that are happening at this time. And it comes back to what I said about opportunities and challenges. Well, that means that we're going to be working in a multicultural team. Yeah, as we globalize and as we think about these global law firms and we think about global issues, it's very difficult to live only with people who understand and believe exactly the same things as you do. What does that mean for me? How do I need to develop myself that I can work in that multicultural environment, in that multicultural team? And then what are the governance and the rights issues? How do we ensure that we balance rights? How do we ensure that the things I believe in, as you can all see, I look different? How do we ensure that what I believe in, what affects me? Currently, we all know the Black Lives Matter movement happening. Those issues, how do we govern those as lawyers within our own law firm, within our own law school, within our own businesses? Those are all really interesting issues that you as a lawyer will be engaging in. So why have I said all this? As I've said, it has implications for legal training. And you want to be sure that you're in the right environment that trains you to be prepared to face these challenges. If you're trained as a 20th century lawyer, invariably what you find is the law will move on and leave you behind. And that is not what we want. We know that, for instance, one of the challenges we have in the world today are people who are really good experts and have trained in a particular way, in a particular industry, and those industries are no longer viable. And therefore they find that they're being left behind and they've got to retrain and they've got to retool. What we're saying is, when you go into legal training at this moment, you need to be thinking, am I prepared for the challenges of the 20th century? Or am I just going to get training that provides me with knowledge as in the 20th century, but does not adapt me to the challenges and the opportunities that the 20th century raises? So what we think as providers of legal education is that, yes, the traditional legal training is still relevant. You still need to know the law. You still need to read the law. You still need to understand the law and all of those skills. But beyond that, we need to adapt. We need to now adapt to the use of technology. We need to adapt to a relevant curriculum that looks at law in its changing form and in all of the diverse ways in which it is emerging and developing in our national environment, but also at the global level. We need to ensure that we know how to work as teams, so that if I happen to be based in India working in a multicultural global firm, I know how to interact with all of them and ensure that we produce results at the end of the day. And therefore, your response really is back to my initial picture. I've painted you a picture that talks about challenges in our changing world. And some people are going to look at that and say, oh my God, then I'm not going to study law anymore. I mean, it's too hard. You know, who wants to study law in this environment? It's such a challenge. So for those, they're going to be like the gentleman on the left-hand side of my slide. All of what I've told you becomes like a heavy load carried on your back, and you say, oh my God, no longer for me, law. But what I'm actually trying to challenge you to think about are the opportunities. If I train and I gain these skills, I am going to be useful to a very old law firm that do not know the skills. That's going to actually give me an advantage in the place of work. I am going to be able to tell them, look, we can actually manage our cases differently. Do you know about this software? We could actually use this and it will enhance our work in our environment. You can be somebody who advises policymakers as a lawyer and say, actually, no, you need to think beyond that and you need to think about this as well. And that is how we harness the opportunities in this time of change. So we could go away with a weight on our shoulders and say, I can't do law. Or we could say, excellent, this is the time for me to thrive. This is an opportunity. I'm going to get those skills. I'm going to learn those skills. And I'm going to be the one who is influencing and who is adapting to and who is utilizing all of the opportunities that these changes bring in. So if you walk with me the one step forward and you say, fine, what do I do? You begin to chart your career. You think, what are my opportunities? What do I want to specialize in the future? If the emerging areas of law are this, does it really pay for me to be looking at that, for instance? Or am I better served looking at where the law is emerging, where it is going, and thinking around specializing in those areas? Maybe I've already got a law degree, but I am not particularly prepared for the 21st century. Do I need to begin to think about postgraduate study so that I can enhance and develop those skills that makes me relevant? We begin to think about soft skills, managerial skills, teamwork, communication. Like someone said, increasingly law is no longer just a profession where you go and defend a client in court. The image of the law is changing rapidly. There's a lot of entrepreneurship going into the law. So how do I develop and build those skills in an environment that will train me? Technology, how do I adapt? How do I learn to network? I mean, it's really funny, but things like LinkedIn, we teach our students how to use those so that you connect with people from different areas. So if I'm dealing with a piece of law that is relevant to another country, personally, I've got colleagues, I've got a network of people I can type a question to and say, oh, by the way, I'm looking at this. What do you think? How does that work in your environment? What are the implications? Because I'm advising somebody from within that context. Advocacy, questioning. How do we develop our advocacy skills in this environment? But of course, understanding that we live in a multicultural environment and adapting to those needs. What are the current principles? Are they still working? And that's one of the things law has been really good at. So once upon a time, we used to think about a vehicle as a horse or a donkey or a cat. And now we have fast moving vehicles. Law is always adapting to changes. And we interrogate, we question what the extant principles, what the norms are continuously. And those are the things that we think about as we chart our career in law. And at Bradford Law School, this is what we do. We have 4 key principles that underlie our legal training and education. The first is that our programs are current and they are industry relevant. So here at Bradford, we build a curriculum that works with industry, those who need the lawyers that we're training. We have what we call the Law Industry Advisory Board. It's made up of partners from a global audience, and they advise us. So in fact, for instance, right now with COVID, next week I'm holding a meeting with them, and I'm saying, right, with COVID happening, how do you think we need to adapt our curriculum? What are the changes that are impacting on you as a practitioner that our lawyers, our law students need to know so that they can remain relevant when they come in to work for you? So that's one part of it, current industry relevant curriculum. which is taught by experienced staff who do research. Yeah, so they are well informed, and that curriculum, as I said, is informed by industry with engagement with the industry. The other part, the second arm of our principle, is the personal approach. Here at Bradford Law, it is about you, the student. We have a friendly, supportive environment. Now, there are different kinds of law schools. You have really, really large law schools where you may have up to 500 students coming in any one year. But here at Bradford, we have a student population and a student size that is big enough to make you feel welcome and part of a community that is thriving and bustling. But at the same time, small enough that we know you, that our personal tutors can work with you, that you have a personal tutor who knows you from when you start your studies to when you finish, and therefore they can speak about you. And that you've got, for instance, I am the head of school who is really involved in the development, in the education, in the training of our students. So we have a really supportive environment, and that environment is multicultural. I don't know, perhaps maybe later on some of my colleagues on the call with me may be able to explain Bradford better to you. But we're a really multicultural environment. In our university, we have students from over 80 countries in there. So it's really bubbling, it's really thriving. You feel welcome, you feel supported, you feel included. And the other thing we talk about is that when you study law with us, it's not just about learning the theory. You've got to begin to practicalize what you learn in the theory, you've got to apply it. So we have what we call our law clinic, where students give advice to real world clients under the supervision of members of our team who are legal practitioners, who are licensed to practice. So from the word go, while you are still there, you're picking up the skills that you will need in the real work. And at the end of the day, when you go through a Bradford degree, whether at master's level or at undergraduate level or at master's level, postgraduate level, you are job ready. You're ready for the world of work, because we are going to be giving you, again, not just the information you need, but the skills that you need. So in our first year, in our second year, in our third year, skill is embedded. In our master's program, skills are embedded. We have what we call the Career Boosters program, for instance, which is value added for all of our students, where again, we bring industry practitioners to come and talk about the real world. Each semester to students, we dedicate that entire period, a week of intense lectures from people who live in the real world of law to come and talk to you about the things that are really important. You build on it. So we do things like negotiating, for instance, evidence. We bring in police officers to come and talk about how you chase evidence, how you evaluate evidence in the modern world. Yeah. So all of those are skills that are going to be really important when you leave. So those are the 4 principles that we thrive on at Bradford Law: industry relevant degrees, a personal approach, a real world experience, and at which end of which we produce job ready graduates. And we do all of that by doing some of those things that I've talked about: an eclectic curriculum, skills development, clinical education, career booster with guest lectures. All of the things that I have listed on there that I've talked about are the things we do at Bradford Law to ensure that you get that. And in fact, looking at this page, that's our law mock court. It's actually called the Lady Hale mock court. Lady Hale is the immediate past president of the United Kingdom Supreme Court. And she's actually one of our partners, and we have the court named after her because she's one of our honorary graduates. And that is the Lady Hale Court. And those people you see there, those are real Bradford students taking part in what is called mooting, practicing the skills that they need in a real world environment, in an environment that looks like a court, so that the first time you go into a court isn't the first time you have the real feel of a court. So that's just an example of what we do, and that is at Lady Hale. We talked about innovating knowledge. There's a link there. If you do get this slide, you can actually click on that link, and you'll see the day we opened the Lady Hale mock court, just to give you an idea of the excitement and the exuberance and the energy that you have at Bradford Law. So I have talked a lot. Thank you very much. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. So now we'll take down all the questions. So the first, hello.
Hello, I'm here.
Yeah. So the first question is, uh, um, would a student pursue law in the UK at UG level, come back and practice law in India?
Yes, it is possible. You can come and study your undergraduate law here in the UK. However, because law is a profession, every profession, when you go back to a different jurisdiction, you have to do what we call the qualifying part of it. So the law degree is the academic bit of it. When you then go back, you will have to register for and comply with the professional requirements of your home country, whether that is in India or any other country. Now, the way the law works here in the UK is that it is common law. And the common law applies across all former countries that formerly applied the common law system. So the legal system is going to be important, the laws are going to be important, but when you do go back, you will need to undertake the professional part of your degree qualification in much the same way as you will do anyways if you were in your own country studying the academic element of law.
Okay,
Does
so
that
next
answer your
question.
question?
The next question is this seminar is regarding admission in UK universities?
Sorry, is this what?
Is this seminar is regarding admission in UK universities?
Well, this seminar, I do this seminar basically to talk to students about whatever they do, wherever they're going to be studying law, what they need to be thinking about if you want to study law going forward, which is why I haven't spent all of the time talking about my university and what we do. I'm just giving you examples. It is about what you need to be thinking about as a young person who wants to study law. But of course, I come from a UK university. So I'm also giving you examples about what we do and the kinds of things that I am talking about that you need to be aware of when you are making those decisions. And I use Bradford law as an example because that is where I am at.
So the next question, I have just done my 12th, but due to COVID-19 issue, I have declared to opt for Jan 21 intake. I want to pursue my career in law. So are there any law courses available for Jan intake?
Now, I will need to understand what the 12th means. With the 12th Jezria, you may be able to help me here. Does that mean that a person who comes...
So it's A level. So in practically, I'll just take this one. So yes, if you have done your 12th and you've scored anything above 70% in your 12 cumulative of the 5 subjects, you would be able to join any of our law courses in January. And yes, we are having quite a few courses and all LLB programs running in Jan. So first thing you have to do is, if your results are out, to get in touch with the SI UK counselor and they'll help you with the application process.
Okay, so next question. It is, can you tell me more about post-study work visa and if this applies, just 1 second, if this applies for student coming from India?
Yes, the post-study visa applies to students coming from India. When you've finished your degree, you've graduated, you'll have a 2-year post-study visa, within which time you can work and earn money and develop your skills for a minimum of 2 years. Of course, in that time, you may then go on to apply for some other form of visa that entitles you to remain longer in the UK. But that's what the post visa is about, yes, and you do get 2 years, and it applies to students from India.
Okay, so next question. What are job opportunities during studies?
Okay, some of that is governed and guided by UK BI law, that is the immigration laws for the UK. So as an international student coming to the UK, you are limited to a certain number of hours of work. I believe this is 20 hours per week. Yeah. You can work for no more than 20 hours per week. As a student, you look for the work. Of course, you're a law student, not yet a lawyer. So I'll be lying if I say, oh, you're going to get into a law firm and begin to work for a law firm. No. But there are opportunities for you to work, gain what we call transferable skills, And of course, the university has what we call a careers office that supports students who are looking for work. There's also work within the university itself, either as student ambassadors or some of the other things that we do within the university. There are no guarantees. I don't want to make anybody any false promises, but the opportunities are there. And if you're outgoing and you look for those jobs and you look for the right support, there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to have something that you want to do to work and gain skills and also get some money while you're working. But it is limited. You can't work full time. You can only work 20 hours during term time. And of course, you need to build your skills up as you go along.
I'll just add to that as well. So the current rule is that definitely when you are studying, as Ngobu said, it's 20 hours per week. But when you have your break, especially for the UG students, you do get your term break. So when you are on break, you can work maximum up to 40 hours. But yes, you can't go beyond that. And that's only applicable 40 hours when you're on your term break. But when you're studying, it's just 20 hours per week.
Thank you.
Okay, so the next question is, may you tell me about the admission for undergraduate in computer science?
Sure, definitely. So we do have quite a few courses in computer science. We do have software engineering, bachelor's in computer science. We have specific courses like animation, visual designing. So the student can opt in for any of the courses. Eligibility requirements are you need to have score overall of 70% or above in your top 5 subjects in 12. And the process is similar as I explained earlier. You just need to go online, submit your application, or you can get in touch with your SIUP counselor and they'll help you with the application process. Another requirement is your English proficiency requirement, where you need to either come from CBSE or ICSE board to get the waivers. Or if you're coming from any state board, you have to take one of the English proficiency exams, which includes IELTS, TOEFL, PTE. We are also accepting TOEFL home test, lingua skills, or language cert test. If you will just visit our website, you can find the details of these additional exams there.
Thank you. The next question is, I am a final year LLB student in India. Result is due. What is the scope of master's program at Bradford?
Okay, thank you. That's a good question. We have 4 master's programs within the Bradford Law School, which plays to individuals' particular interests or none. So we've got the International Commercial Law Masters, which is focused on commercial activities, banking, intellectual property, international commercial contracts, those sorts of things. That's the International Commercial Law Masters. And then we've got the International Human Rights and Development Masters. So for those who are interested in human rights law, development issues, so gender rights, humanitarian law, those sorts of issues, we've got a master's for that. And then we've got another master's that looks at natural resources and environment. So if you're interested in pollution, climate change, those sorts of issues, that is the master's for you. And then we've got what we call the International LLM in International Legal Studies. The LLM in International Legal Studies are for those who don't really want to specialize in one particular area. They want to have a broad overview of international law issues. So maybe they want to do a bit of human rights, a bit of commercial law, a bit of natural resources, a whole range of different things. We have that master's as well. So you could have the specialized masters, the 3 of them, or you could have international legal studies that gives you the flexibility to think through what you want to do as you develop on the program. So those are the 4 master's programs that we provide at Bradford Law.
Ngobo, I just, sorry, Deepika, I'll interrupt Ngobo here. So this is a very common question I get from students in India. What is the major difference between our LLM courses and the international legal studies?
No, the international legal studies, you can have the LLM in international legal studies, which is one of the right? And the LLM in international legal studies essentially means that I am not specialized in one particular area. Yeah, I don't have a specialism, say, in international commercial law or in international human rights law. I have a broad knowledge of international law subjects. That is what the LLM in international legal studies means. However, if you've already made up your mind and you know you have an interest, say, what I want to do is corporate practice, yeah? I want to work with businesses, being corporate law, and that is what I want to do. I want to work in banking, stuff like that. Then you say, I'm going to do international commercial law, where, as I said, you'll do banking, commercial dispute resolution, intellectual property law. So they're very, very specialized subjects that you will learn there. But if you do international legal studies, you may do something in human rights law, you may do something in commercial law. You just pick as interest takes you, and it is not a specialized master's. So it just depends on where you are in your journey. Some people are very clear, this is what I want to do. Others will say, no, I want to leave myself some room, sort of explore and do different things.
Thank you. That really explains very well, Ngobo. Deepika, over to you.
Okay, so the next question is it better to do LLB in India and come to UK for masters?
I will say it depends on you, okay? It depends on you, the individual, and it depends on your institutions in India, and it depends on what you want as an individual. So what I say is this, you've got to take your personal circumstances into consideration and ask, is study in the UK for me? Now, what I can tell you are the advantages of coming to study in the UK, which is that you will have an internationally recognized law degree in an international environment that will provide you with knowledge of the core common law principles, rules that you need to know. And then if you do want to then go back to India, you can then go back and do the practice element of your degree and qualify. That's an option. What you also want to be thinking about is, what are the facilities that are available to me? What is the environment that is available to me? Is that what I want for myself? The kind of curriculum I've just described to you, is that what I want? Because one of the things I know, and I don't know Indian universities very well, so I'm not going to pick on any Indian university. But as I travel around, one of the things I find is that a lot of law schools are still very much teaching the traditional law curriculum. So you do land law, you do law of tort, you do criminal law, and it doesn't prepare you, as I've said, for all of these challenges. However, as I said, if you then choose, I'm going to stay in India and do this, and say, later on, I want to go and do this at postgraduate level, that is also an opportunity. Of course, there are also financial implications involved there. I'm being really real and practical. So you've got to do what is right for you. But are there benefits for coming to the UK? Yes, certainly there are. But is that right for you? That's a conversation you will need to have with yourself, with your family, and perhaps with your advisors. Does that sound like an answer, Isri?
Yes, it was absolutely what I would have advised, Ngobo.
Okay, so the next question from Anchal Jain. Can you explain the study option to take up for practice in the UK?
Sorry, I'm not quite sure I understand that question.
Yeah.
Do you mean what you're required to have to come and study, or is it the path?
Yeah, she's asking about the perfect course to opt for in UK.
If she wants to practice in the UK, so she wants to know what is the best course for her, which she can opt in for, so that she...
Right, okay, right. If you want to practice in the UK, you'll do what we call the qualifying law degree, which we offer in Bradford. The qualifying law degree means that you are going to do what we call the 7 foundational modules, which you must study in order to move on to then go on to do the second path of your degree. Now, legal education is changing in the UK as well. That's something else. So you finish the first part of your law degree, which is a 3-year law degree, if you do a straightforward degree, or 4 years if you do law with a placement year. A placement year means after your first 2 years, you take 1 year out, you go and work in a law firm or a company or a business for a year, develop skills, and then you come back in your final year and you do the third year as your 4th year. So you have a 4-year degree. Now, people do that because companies find that really valuable, that you've gone out there, you've got a job, you've developed skills, and then you come back. But it's not for everybody. So again, you've got to think, is this for me or is it not for me? Again, there are financial implications involved as well. And also the opportunities, because the jobs you get are dependent on you succeeding at interview to be interviewed for those jobs. What we do here in Bradford Law School is that we have a dedicated academic who supports students make those applications. Yeah, so we have a careers and placement leads. We have a website where we post all of the jobs that are available. And one of my jobs as the head of law school, in fact, I was in one of those meetings even yesterday, is all about beginning to develop those partnerships so that our students have the opportunities for placements when they come up. But as I said, we can't guarantee it. It's about opportunity. It's also about what you achieve in your first 2 years. So if your grades aren't good enough, then of course, that may mean that you cannot progress because companies or firms are not going to accept that. So to recap, you do the qualifying law degree, either the 3 years or the 4 years, depending on which one you want to do. And when you complete that, you then do what we call the practice element, if you want to practice in law. At the moment, it is called either the LPC, if you want to be a solicitor, or the BPTC, the Bar Practitioner's Course, if you want to be a barrister, okay? And when you complete all of that and you do your 2 years training contract, then you can practice law in the UK. But as I indicated, there are some changes coming in, what we call the solicitor's qualifying examination. It hasn't started. They plan for it to start from September next year, the solicitor's qualifying examination, which will be another added element that may come in. But that's an exam that you need to pass to progress into practice. Does that answer the question? That's one of the challenges about the online platform, because you're not quite sure if but if you're not satisfied, please just type again and I'll answer. Yeah.
Yes. I have that a quick question there. So you've explained very well that a student completes 3 years or 4 years bachelor's degree, and then they need to go on to 2 years program and then write the exam. It's for the new law. So what is the total duration we are looking at? And when the 2 year course which you mentioned, does that include the LLM as well?
No, the 2 year, no, I think that's the difference. No, you finished. The minimum you need to do, let's start with the minimum. The minimum you need to do is a 3 year law degree,
Okay.
a 1 year training contract, a 1 year training, either as LPC or as BPTC.
All right.
So that's 4 years. But just like medicine or whatever, we don't just finish training you and say, okay, go and decide people's lives and write their contracts and whatever, because we want to be sure that you're not changing people's lives for life and making mistakes. So you do what we call the 2 years training contract, where you are in work, you are paid, but you're supervised.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's only after that 2 years and you get signed off that you are now an independent solicitor or practitioner. You cannot just finish the 4 years and go and get work. You have to have a 2 years training contract in which you are in work, you are paid, but you are being supervised. And the easiest way I can think about it is with the doctors as well. They finish, they go into the hospital, and they're called, I don't know what they're called in your country. Here we call them P1 and P2 doctors. And you finish those 2 years, you get signed off before you get to have or give somebody an injection and don't kill all of that. So it's that kind of thing.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Ngogo. So practically we're looking at minimum of 4 years plus additional 2 years of experience training, and then
Exactly.
You're a lawyer.
But that's more or less what you find in most countries. I mean, in my country, it's the same. It's any professional course where you have to have a sign off. You always have the training practical element because it's people's lives.
Okay, so the next question, what are the job opportunities for Indian students in UK post completing a law course?
Now, that is a difficult question to ask. Okay. And that's not a question, just Indian question asked. All countries ask it. My country, when I go to where I'm originally from, ask the same question. And what I often say is, I am here, I am working in the UK, I am the head of a law school. What that tells you is I wasn't born in the UK. I think you can tell from my accent. And I didn't grow up in the UK, but I'm here and I'm working and I'm the head of a law school. What that tells you is that the opportunities are there. Whether or not you get a job is down to you and the opportunities that are available to you. What I tell students is, I interview all the time. Next week, I'm going to be interviewing again. And everybody who's applied for that job to come and lecture in my school, they all have a PhD, which is a minimum requirement. So I am looking for what added value are they bringing. So just because you've got a PhD doesn't guarantee you a lecturing position in the law school, because everybody else who is applying for that job has a PhD. It's the same with you as a law student. What I often say is, we provide lots of opportunities in the school for you to build yourself up. And what I find is that the students who take up those opportunities, not just pass my degree and that is it. As I told you, the career boosters, the law clinic, all of the things that we put in place for you to build yourself up. If you've got those and you've got a good degree, again, I find students who come here, I'm being really honest, who work really hard and they excel. But there are others who come here and think, oh my God, thank God, mom and dad are not here. I can have a bit of a break and have a bit of fun. And that fun catches up with them quickly and they don't graduate with the degree they want to graduate with. So there are two elements. The first bit is you've got to work hard and you've got to graduate with a good degree. The second bit is you've got to take the opportunities to build yourself and your CV beyond just the degree. And those opportunities are given to you. So we're not asking you to go look for them. We give you the opportunities. And what I find is the students who do that stand a much better chance of having a career, and the opportunities are there for them to have a career. Because at the end of the day, I'm about to recruit. What I want is somebody who can come, do the job and add value. And I don't care if you're from India or if you're from Pakistan or if you're from UK or if you're from Nigeria or South Africa, I don't care. I want somebody who can do that job. That is what I think students need to always adhere their minds to. So are there opportunities? Yes. Is it guaranteed? Again, I will say no. It's down to you and the opportunities you take. Does that answer the question? Am I being too honest?
But that's a fact. Like, that's a fact. It's all about the opportunities. I always tell students, like, it's not about just getting a past class degree. If you are coming to UK and getting a past class degree, that will really not add a value to your profile. You need to ensure that you aim for distinction. If not distinction, at least look for the merit class in terms of degree.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next question, do you provide courses for GDL and BPTC?
No, we do not provide the GDL or the BPTC. There are institutions that provide that after you've completed your first degree. Now, if you have a law degree, you don't need to do the GDL, okay? The GDL are for people who didn't do a law degree, but who wants to go into law. We used to provide that, but we don't anymore. And a lot of that will change going forward with the SQE when it comes in. So we don't provide the BPTC or the LPC. But when you complete the degree with us, we have institutions we work with that provide that, and a lot of our students progress and go on there.
Okay, so the next question, what will be the fees?
I think Jaysri knows that better than I do.
So our tuition fee range for across the programs ranges between £16,000 to £20,000, depending if you're looking forward for the classroom-based course or the lab-based course. For undergraduates, it's between £16,000 to £17,500, and for postgraduate, it's £17,000 to £19,980, which I rounded up £20,000. So depending on the course, you can look for the tuition fee. However, I just want to add that we do offer outstanding scholarships to all our international students. Being an international, if you come to study at University of Bradford, by default, you get a guaranteed scholarship of £3,500, and then we have certain program-specific scholarships. So if you study courses from our pre-studies department, then you get by default £5,000 of scholarship. If you are looking forward to study Masters in Application of Artificial Intelligence, you have an opportunity to apply up to £10,000 of scholarship. So just do follow our scholarship website. But as I said, once you submit your application being an Indian national, you do get it by default of £3,500 of scholarship to every single student across the course, if you're coming for foundation, undergraduate, or a postgraduate degree.
Okay, so the next question, does post-study work visa applies for student doing PG courses?
Yes, it does.
Okay, so
It's
next question.
everyone, sorry. If you're doing a degree course, not the diplomas in the UK, if you're studying any degree course starting from September 2020 onwards, or you graduate from April 2021 onwards, every student who passes the course would be entitled for 2 years of post-study work.
Okay, thank you. The next question, after LLB in India, how much percentage is required for admission in master's degree in UK?
Okay, so ideally, if you look at our website, our requirements are very straightforward, that we want you to come with your bachelor's degree of 60% or above. That's something, it's like, you know, overall your across degree, bachelor's degree. However, we understand that in India, there are certain universities when it comes to law, if you're talking about Kolkata University or Delhi University or Pune University, the maximum grades you get in LLB from these universities are in 50s. So we understand that if someone gets a 55% from these universities, it might be a topper from Delhi University from 55%. So we are very much aware of the grading system in India for law. So we are flexible. We look at your overall profile and then we give the decision. So if you're having anything between 50 to 60% in your LLB in India, you can still go ahead with your application and we'll process it accordingly.
Okay, so the next question, is there any postgraduate course for civil engineering?
In civil engineering, you said, Deepika?
Yeah, civil engineering.
We do have 2 courses in civil engineering. We do have a course of advanced civil and structural engineering, and we're also launching project management in civil and structural field. So those are the 2 courses you can definitely opt in for. Grade requirements remains the same. Bachelor's of cumulative 60% in your bachelor's in engineering, and English requirements remains the same. But yes, we do have 2 courses you can select from, and both the courses are accredited and approved by ICE.
Okay, so the next question, can I defer September intake course for January intake?
We have, so ideally September intake is our biggest intake, and January is an intake where we have very limited courses. We understand due to COVID, a lot of students are unable to join us for September. So we are trying to add a lot more courses for January. So you can defer your course to January if that course is available. And these websites are still not updated because we are adding every now and then. There's a process. We are in the round 1 of approvals, and round 2 is still happening. So what we would recommend is, if you already have an offer from university, please do get back in touch with us directly, and we will let you know if your course is available in January. If yes, then definitely you can defer, or else you have to go for September 2021.
Okay, so the next question, when should students apply for accommodation? Do I have to stay 2 weeks in quarantine?
So when it comes to accommodation, ideally, like, we do follow a process. So once you accept your offer, we work on your visa process. We have a dedicated visa support team. They help you with getting your visa sorted along with your SIUK team in India. Ideally, we recommend once you get your visa through, that is the time you go ahead and book your accommodation. We do provide guaranteed accommodation for all our international students, so you're not going to miss out on anything. We also have a dedicated team to help you in finding accommodation outside campus if you wish to opt for that. So do not worry of accommodation. Let's get your visa sorted. Once you have visa sorted, then we move to your accommodation part. Coming to the quarantine bit. Sorry, go on and go.
No, go on.
So I'm saying, coming to the quarantine bit, right now we understand that the current rule says there would be 14 days of quarantine, and right now we are evaluating the options if students can be on campus during that period, so that they can still enroll. However, we are talking about students coming on campus ideally in last week of September. The orientation week starts from 29th of September for most of the courses, and the academic week starts from 5th October. Hence, we are very optimistic that rules will be changed by then in next couple of months' time. So we will definitely keep students updated a month in advance on what would be the actual scenario when they arrive on campus.
And I just want to say that here at the University of Bradford, we're working very, very hard to ensure that students get all the support that they need for when they arrive, and that students have different options for learning when they arrive as well. So a lot of work is going into it. So you're not going to just arrive in an environment where you are not supported. I just want you to be assured that when you come, the support is there. We're working very hard. You're going to have support to help you through the stages, especially at this difficult time.
Yeah, thanks, Anubhav.
Thanks. So the next question. I have completed my bachelor's in India. I want to practice law in the UK. Which master's do I have to do?
Right. If you've completed your bachelor's in India and you want to practice in the UK, the master's degree alone will not qualify you to practice. I mean, just like I said before, because in every jurisdiction, if you qualify in another jurisdiction, when you come in, you need to undergo the legal practice training element. Now, it is possible that if you've already practiced law in your home country, there is what we call the conversion pathway that you can take. But that is an assessment that the Solicitors Regulatory Authority, SRA, will have to do. In terms of what may stand you in a good stead is, okay, fine, I want to get into the UK, but if I go straight in, I may not have those opportunities. I want to do a master's. What the master's degree does for you is that it gives you that time to get to understand the UK, get to understand the environment, get to understand relevant rules and principles, such that when you then begin to approach firms, they can see that you can adapt and that you can live within and work within the UK. So the master's itself isn't what will make you work in a law firm, but you need to do the practice course. However, if all you want to do is not to practice law, but to work with the law. In other words, I'm not going to be, remember I talked about beginning to change your mind and orientation about what a lawyer does, yeah? And a lot of our law students, for instance, will go on and work in industry, in companies that require lawyers to advise them. If that is what you want to do, then there's a different path to that as well. And I'll say, contact us and we'll give you very specific advice, but very broadly, those are the two things that you need to be thinking about.
Thank you. Then the next question. What are the requirements to get admitted in a PG course?
I think so we just covered it. Overall 60% in the bachelor's degree. That's a basically academic requirement. And one of the English proficiency exams, it can be IELTS, TOEFL, PTE, in any of the courses.
Okay, next question. If I get a degree from the UK, what do I have to do to be eligible to practice in India? As I heard there was some changes regarding eligibility for foreign lawyers.
Now, I am not personally aware of those changes, but again, if that's something that you're concerned about, I would say usually most countries will have a regulatory authority that you'd look at their website. I know the one for India. I can have a look at that and you can contact us later. We can talk through that, or you may contact them directly yourself. I am not aware of that change, to be honest with you.
Thank you. The next question. Madam, can you explain about admissions and scholarship in animation courses?
As I said, admissions requirements are very basic. You need to come with 12 or overall 70% in your top 5 subjects. And scholarship for animation would be a maximum of £3,500 per year.
Okay, so the next question. And let me know, how can I get free admission from UK University?
There are no application fees, at least to study at University of Bradford. And even if you apply from SI UK, there are no charges for it. So practically it's a free admission. I would say you just need to work on your application and the documents.
Okay, thank you. Next question. How can I file the application form? Means it is available on any website or not?
Yes, the application is available on the website. You just need to go on the website, find the course for yourself, and on the course page, you will have a big button of apply now. Just click it and follow the direction, and you'll be sorted.
Thank you. Next question. Do you offer any foundation course to pursue LLB, as I have a gap of 2 years after my 12th, as I did not continue by bachelor's? My bachelor's, maybe.
Yes, we do have the International Foundation Year that you can do to join us to study for law. And this year, because of COVID, there is both a September entry and a January entry. But I'll let Joseph say the details because there may be country specific.
Just what you said, like, we do, to answer you the first bit, if you're coming with the gap year, that's absolutely fine. We do accept students with gap year, elongated bachelor's degree, distance learning. So that's absolutely fine till the time you're meeting the academic requirement. We offer foundation courses to students who are not academically very sound. So when I said you need to have 70% in your 12th, if you don't have 70, if you score anything between 55% to 70%, then we offer you the foundation course. So evaluate yourself in terms of your grades. But if you feel that with the gap here, just in your statement of purpose, explain what is aware, what have you been doing for 2 years? Even if you were traveling, that's absolutely fine. We're not going to judge you on what you were doing. It's just that we want to know that what have you been up to. So be loyal on your application, submit your application. However, as I said, if you are academically meeting the requirement, we will offer you the year 1 entry.
Thank you. The next question. Can a student practice law after completing LLM in the UK? What will be the process for it?
Okay, I think this was a similar question to the last one.
Yeah.
When you finish the LLM, if you want to practice law in the UK, you will need to apply to a law firm in the UK. Get, as I said, the 2-year training contract. It depends on what your own degree is, and when you complete the training contract, then you can become a solicitor. However, if you haven't previously practiced in your own country, then you will need to do the LPC or the BPTC or take the solicitor's qualifying examinations.
Okay, thank you. The next question. I am belonging to a poor family of students, so I want to join my overseas scholarship in UK universities in BSc Animation VFX course.
I missed out. What was the question there, Deepika?
Actually, that question is now deleted. So it is related to animation and VFX. What are the future opportunities in UK?
Again, like animation is something which is picking up everywhere. I'll just add to what Engoku said in the presentation. With the current COVID situation, you see a lot of changes happening. So everyone has moved from traditional films to moving to Netflix. And if you're looking at the growth of industry, not only just in the field of marketing, but also film and media, animation is kind of taking all the grip. So there's a lot of scope. It again depends within the field what course student is opting in for.
Thank you. So the second last question. I will apply for the admission after 3 or 4 years. So what are the things where I can work?
So if you're looking forward to applying for future, it depends. If you're looking forward to applying for bachelor's or master's, my key advice to everyone is if it's good to plan in advance, and the key focus is always on your academics. So if you're studying a bachelor's degree now, make sure the better grades you will have in your bachelor's degree, the better chances of acceptance and the better chances of scholarship you would be having. So please make sure you focus on your grades. If you want, you can get the certification done in the relevant field you're working on, because you do have time. It adds a lot to your profile. If during your summer breaks, if you can go for any internships, go for those opportunities. So basically anything you can do to add to your profile, that is recommended from us.
Thank you. So the last question for 2021 intake, when should I start the application process?
So we have 2 intakes in 2021. We have Jan 2021, we have September 2021. So for Jan, we are already open. For September 2021, we recommend you start applying from October onwards, October of 2020. So you practically start working on an application almost like 10 to 11 months in advance.
So thank you so much for all your answers. So here we are done with the question answer session. Anything else you want to mention?
Go.
From my part, I just want to say thank you all very much for listening to me and for all those really interesting questions. It shows you're very engaged, and I wish you all
I think so. We lost Ingeborg. It probably seems like a poor internet connection. But I'll just continue.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
I was hearing you, but obviously you were not hearing me. Yeah, no, I just want to say good luck to everyone and keep believing in yourself and keep working hard. There's lots of opportunities in the 21st century.
Thanks, Inkubo. And again from me, thanks everyone for joining us. Thanks SIUK team for organizing the session. But I just want to remind you all that we are very much looking forward to welcome all our international students on campus in September 2021. So if you are still planning to start your course, please feel free to join us. We are focusing on blended learning, but definitely you will be on campus, and we're open for January as well. If you have any doubts, any queries, any concerns you or your family or parents would like to discuss, please do get in touch with us. We would be happy to have a one-on-one conversation, or get in touch with the SIUK team. And until then, until we meet in Bradford, stay safe, stay indoors, and yeah, look forward to speak with you guys soon.
Thank you so much. Nice to have you here. Thanks for your time. So here we end the session for today. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you, Bhavna. Thank you, Deepika. Thank you.
Thank you.